Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 10th episode of the Industry Speak series from GoldenPi. I'm Abhijit Roy, co-founder and CEO of GoldenPi, the online platform for fixed income investments for lakhs of investors. On this show today, we have a very new and an interesting company from the financial world, and we will dive deep into the company and we'll see for investment opportunities. Before I get started, for our regular viewers, we are back with this new episode after around 1.5 months of lag. And the reason for that is in between there was Dussehra and Diwali, holiday season set in and people would be busy with the enjoyment. But we are back now and, with this very interesting episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us Arka Fincap, which is a new age NBFC and who is solving a very critical problem of growth capital that is required by MSMEs, developers, and corporates. In their own words, the mission statement of the company is to actually provide a technology-enabled, customized financial solution that gives the investors and borrowers a very awesome experience. Well, I might not have exactly laid out the mission statement, but you get the gist of it. So let me have the pleasure of introducing today our guests from Arka Fincap, Mr. Nachiket Naik, who is the head of corporate lending, and Mr. Nachiket Naik also happens to be one of the founding members of this company. So he has got over 25 years of illustrious experience in this credit and lending space. Prior to this, he has been working across multiple companies like IRIP Credit Capital, UBS, ABN AMRO, and infrastructure leasing and finance. Nachiket holds an engineering degree and an MBA degree. Next, we have with us Mr. Amit Gupta, who is the Group Chief Financial Officer of Arka Fincap. Amit brings to the table 20 years of very solid leadership experience in the BFSI space. Erstwhile, he has worked in entities like Magma FinCorp, ICICI Bank, and Indostar Capital Ltd. Amit is a chartered accountant and a company secretary. He is an alumni of St. Xavier's College and IIM Ahmedabad. Nachiket and Amit, it's truly a pleasure to have you as our guest speakers on this episode.
Thanks, Abhijit, and thank you again for giving us a brief introduction about the company, about myself and my senior colleague Nachiket Naik. We are all here. We'd like to answer your questions, whatever you bring onto the table, and we would like that with our answers, your audience and our audience get satisfied to their extent.
Absolutely. Looking forward to a very enriching experience for our viewers. So let me start off, with the first question to Nachiket, to you, because you're one of the founding members of this company, right? So why the name Arka Fincap, right? It's a very unusual name, and I'm sure you would have debated a lot around what name to be given, and finally converged on this, right? So if you could share some insights on this.
Absolutely. So Arka actually to be pronounced as is derived rather from the word Arka in Sanskrit, which essentially means the first rays of the sun or sunshine. And for the group, One Financial Services is a sunrise sector, and it was a new beginning for them into this business. And that's how the name has got identified. And today Arka Fincap is a name in its own right, or a brand in its own right, by way of financial services, though we may be a relatively young 5-year-old entity. But there is a good amount of recognition by way of both the borrower segment, the lender segment, as well as peers in the market, by way of what our performance has been in the past, what we bring to the table, and the prognosis for the business going forward. So yeah, I think the early rays of the sun have now transgressed into bright sunshine for us as a business.
That's a lovely thought process of naming the company. So let's get deeper into this. So what has been the genesis of the company, and what has been the trajectory till date, if you could lay out in a nutshell, because we have got a lot of questions that we would want to hear from you, and along with that, if you could also share what was the inspiration behind starting Arka Fincap, in the first place?
So I take the second part first, and then given that the first part has a lot to do with numbers by way of growth, etc., I take Amit to request Amit to take that on. But essentially, I think from a group perspective, financial services in India, all said and done from a prognosis point of view, is one of the sectors of big opportunity. And if you see, better part of the larger corporate groups in India are already present in this segment, and increasingly you are seeing day by day, whether in the last few years it has been a lot of our peers who have also started NBFCs. So to that extent, I think a lot of corporate groups realize that financial services as a line of business, given the under penetration of financial services in India, is a huge sector from a long-term sustainable growth point of view, and in general what you can bring to the table. From again the group perspective, given that they have largely been a strong engineering-based, manufacturing-oriented company, adding one or two flavors of services-oriented businesses was what they were looking for. All the businesses are very self-sustaining and financially sound, and hence the ability to invest in a new business is demonstrated by way of our own capitalization of 1,000 crore that we have drawn down from our parent. So yeah, it was essentially a marriage of all these factors. Where from
and your parent is Kirloskar Capital.
Originally, the name was Kirloskar Capital when we started, but like we said, from a branding of the financial services business for the group, it was identified that we will take independent branding. And like I mentioned before, that's how Arka Fincap, or Arka as a word, was identified, and that's how we have been rechristened as Arka Fincap. So yeah, I think that's the genesis of why this business and why the name.
Excellent.
Abhijit, now touching base to the journey and the trajectory where Arka have been and what we have been doing over a period of time. So if I take the audience and you also along with us to 2019, when actually Arka got registered in 2018, we started our operation in April 2019. In 2019, when this company was starting its business, the product policies and the framework entirely were designed in a way that we wanted to be a diversified lending institutions with presence across multiple business classes. We wanted to do mid-corporate lending, we wanted to be into the developer financing, and we wanted to be present in the SME and MSME segment as well. In 2019, when the promoter infused the money and we got our external credit rating as a AA- with stable outlook. And over a period of time, what we have observed that with our consistent performance, CRISIL has also revised the outlook from stable to positive. If I talk of standing today, the rating stands at AA- with positive outlook. We believe we imbibed or inherited the culture of a business. We inherited the high level of governance from our parent, that is the Kirloskar Group, who is a legendary group in itself, which needs no introduction. And they infused to the extent of 1,000 crore over a period of time, and with leveraging over that particular equity to the extent of a 2.8x over a period of 4.5 to 5 years. We have established an AUM of approximately 4,100 crore as on 30th September 2023. This AUM as on 30th September 2023 is spread across 3 different business segments, as I mentioned, out of which approximately 40% is being contributed by SME and MSME division, 31% coming from mid-corporate structured term lending, and the third one coming roughly around 29% from the developer financing. We have been disbursing loans to these segments over a period of time. We believe we have seen a couple of cycles over that, because the loans have been churning very fast in some of the segments because of the nature of the transaction and the kind of structuring we build onto the table. And because of that, the loan book outstanding as on 30th September is only 4,100 crore. The average ticket size what we have been distributing to the customer ranging from approximately 1 crore going up to 30-35 odd crore on an average basis. There could be certain cases where we would have disbursed little extra. There would be certain cases where we would have disbursed little less, depending upon the requirement of the business of the borrower. Whatever we have been doing, approximately 90% of the entire disbursements and the AUM is on a secured basis, and which is a matter of pride to us that we haven't faced any accident over a period of time of 4.5 to 5 years of our journey. The loan book quality, which is a big mantra for Arka Fincap, we have been able to keep it intact. Industry have gone through its own cycles, but what we have observed that because of our robust monitoring system, the in-house technology that we have got it developed, we have been able to maintain our assets quality because we believe we are very much selective and choosy in onboarding any customer onto our board. And as on 30.
I'll just hold you over there. I'll just take a cue from there. I think for our viewers, it'll be great to understand now. A lot of SMEs and MSMEs would also be able to draw inspiration from our discussion.
Yeah.
So what would be the criteria basis which you would be selecting an MSME as an eligible borrower, wherein you mentioned you would disburse a loan anywhere between 1 crore to 35 crores, right? So because that's going to be very valuable information for any MSME which is growing and is looking for capital.
For an SME and MSME, we are basically disbursing loan to the business houses who are registered as a MSME customer with the government, who have a Udyam registration certificate with them. We are dealing with basically the business houses, and they are either manufacturers, traders, or service providers into their own domain. If I have to quote something like a restaurant owner in Mumbai, we have been giving loan to them. Maybe a small manufacturer who is present in a tier 2 kind of a city. Let's say talk about the Jaipur. Let's say talk about Ahmedabad and all. So we have been giving loan to those segments as well. So depending on the nature of a business of the borrower, depending on the region, locality, and many other factors, their CIBIL score, their past history, their business requirement, their cash flow, we have in-house formulated various programs, various schemes which suits to the need of the borrower. And accordingly, whenever our sales team goes on to the market and they talk to the customer to understand their business requirement, accordingly the sales team fits that particular borrower or tries to fit that borrower into any applicable schemes or product that is available with us. And that's how we plan that how in a better way can we serve the customer and enhance his experience with Arka journey.
So does the loan need to be collateralized, or half collateralized and half upon the future cash flows that the company might be generating? I mean, how would you evaluate that?
Abhijit, in this segment, generally what the lender does, lenders generally fund to the business of the borrower and they take or charge over the collateral of the borrower. These collaterals could be most probably the residential property, can be the commercial property, and in some cases, very selective basis, can be the industrial property as well. That's how these products in the market also work, and we are also starting with the same philosophy. As I said, almost 90% of my entire portfolio is secured. So whether we are disbursing into the corporate segment, whether we are disbursing into developer financing, or we are disbursing into MSME and SME, we want to remain collateralized with exposure what we have been taking with our borrower. However, having said and done, there is a very small pocket that we have been doing it digitally for a better customer experiences, that we call it as a straight through processing, where the leads are a very small quantum like a 3 lakh, 2 lakh coming from a digital partners along with us. And we have been running a small book of approximately 75 to 80 crore under that segment. That is the only book which is currently we are having is the unsecured, but there we are generally funding to the customer for maybe the education purpose, maybe for their consumer durable purpose, maybe for their personal financing. So depending on the need, quantum, and the tenure also.
Got it. So that's a retail loan segment.
Yes.
Got it. How about so you spoke about the SME and the MSME, and very beautifully explained. One direct question that would come in the mind of an MSME or SME is that, okay, they have an Udyam certificate and they have all the documentation that is required from your end. They have the collateral, but let's say they are located in a tier 3 or a even down the tier, right? So what would be the presence of operation in the country right now?
See, currently we are present in 11 states. We are covering 11 states. We are present in 26 locations if we talk only as 30th September. But gradually our penetration is increasing. Over a period of last 2 months, like October and November, the presence have been increasing, and we intend to touch base the interior part of the country, where maximum customers who are not able to take the advantage of Arka or Arka presence, they can also get benefited out of it. Otherwise, we are on our website also. If a customer wants to apply for a loan, there is an option available. He can just go into and apply for a loan. Then our representative will definitely get in touch with them and consult how best can we serve them.
Got it. Got it. So let's move on, to understand the other two segments to which you lend. Just to recapitulate what you mentioned. So right now, Arka Fincap has a total AUM of 4,000 crores as of Q2 FY 2024, right? And out of which 80 to 90% actually is fully securitized. It's that small digital loan portion, which is retail loans, which can be unsecured in nature. How about the loans to the developers that you mentioned and the corporates? So what are the financial services that you're giving to them in the form of loans?
We look after from a wholesale lending point of view is essentially, we work with well-renowned corporates and mid-market companies and fund them both from a growth perspective as well as from a working capital perspective. So from a risk outlook point of view, we are very like a bank. We are very oriented from a relationship point of view by way of starting small with from a borrowing perspective, from a lending perspective, and then growing the relationship with the borrower across transactions. And essentially, we are a facilitator of a financial solution to a corporate. We're not just a loan provider. I think where we want to distinguish ourselves is a deeper understanding of the borrower, the understanding of how a particular loan can be structured and delivered in a manner that suits the borrower's requirement, and doing that in double quick time. In most of the cases, borrowers realize that money is required at very short notice. Our processes are very straightforward, simple. We've been able to do transactions in short periods of time. So somewhere you realize that you are able to get into a zone where borrowers rely upon you as a trusted friend or a trusted provider of capital, someone who can give them a solution to their requirement and deliver it in double quick time. So that's been our focus, and we have stuck to dealing with quality borrowers who have had a good track record of both operational and financial performance. And that's reflected in the fact that our financials, if you see, we've had no NPAs or no delays in payment from any of our borrowers in the wholesale segment till date across almost 5 years now. So they're reflective of the fact that our approach to business is conservative and long-term sustainable relationship with borrowers.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you have brought forward, that the wholesale business has literally 0 NPA, which means you have got a very, very strong criteria to onboard your borrowers, right? And their quality borrowers that you have been able to identify. So if I may ask, so how do you source your clients? How do you source those borrowers? Is it a sales team that goes out, across the 11 states, which you have presence across the 26 centers, or is it digitally, or, it's a hybrid model? If you can share that.
As far as the wholesale business is concerned, see, amongst the team, there is enough of experience and relationships of dealing or having relationships with the corporate borrower segment that we deal with. So to that extent, as against the SME business, which like you mentioned is very feet on street by way of branches or digital, etc. Our business is still very, if I can use the term old world, by way of origination. It still relies upon good old relationships with borrowers, understanding their businesses, meeting them frequently. So most of our origination is direct bilateral relationships as a function of relationships that we have with our identified borrower bases over a period of years. And that only grows as you keep doing transactions with borrowers. There is enough of cognizance today in the market where our borrower segment is aware and appreciative of what Arka brings to the table, and hence it's that much more straightforward from a origination and transaction perspective. Given that with track record, one has built that level of credibility for borrowers to get comfort to deal with us.
Got it. So my next question over here would be, we actually have had discussions with a host of NBFCs, and most of them have an approach of using technology to enable their business. And what I understand from your website, right, and doing a bit of of understanding of Arka Fincap, you use technology well to be able to drive a business, right? So can you share with us some of those key things which you are doing on the technology front? And perhaps that's basically one of your key differentiating factors with respect to, I think 11,000 other NBFCs who are there registered with RBI as of date.
Yeah, Abhijit, I would like to take this question.
Sure.
You have pointed out that yes, technology is a backbone for Arka, and we have been leveraging a lot since day one when the Arka got incorporated itself. And that's why the senior most members are also part of your IT and ops team. We believe that to beat the competition and to be into the competition in today's world, to enhance your customer experience, you need to be digitized, you need to be technology, you need to adopt the technology which is up to date in the market. And that's why we adopted a low code, no code agile systems, and then SaaS based software applications are already in place. I firmly believe we are one of the NBFCs or one of the small NBFC in the earlier days when we were just want to adopt the loan management system which was being developed by in consultation with TCS, and then loan origination system, whether we talk of the HRMS, which is human resource management system, then financial orientation system, and then the other digital applications which are being required for any institution, any financial services institution to run effectively are already in place into the company. They all are digitally integrated through API. And then to enhance the customer experience in its journey along with Arka, what we have done, we are trying to go more on a paperless kind of a mode. Whenever the sales representative going and meeting the customer, just taking the most of the information digitally, and then all the data are being retrieved from the respective bureau with the consent of the borrower only. And then the paper, I must say the paperwork is minimized to that extent. And then we are able to turn around to the customer in a more meaningful way and with a less TAT. So in that way, the customer is also getting satisfied that yes, because nowadays you go to the borrower and ask for a 10,000 other documents and all, even they have a lot of things to do. In that shortage of time, if you are going with a quick and crisp questions to ask and then just putting into your database and taking all the data which is available online with their consent, their time, your time and energy is also getting saved. And again, not only in origination and journey of a customer with Arka, but once the loan is disbursed, then the analytical tools that we have adopted to analyze the portfolio, to analyze the behavior and all, that we believe is also up to the mark, which is enabling us to keep our asset quality intact.
Got it. I think, there were a couple of very, very important and key differentiating factors that I, sitting on the other side, realized. One key thing is that you mentioned, the leadership team is a part of the IT and ops team, right? And that actually is like when the leadership team is into that process of overlooking how technology is enabling ops, that is a very powerful sort of offering. Why? Because then straightforward, the vision at the top starts percolating to the last level of the company and beyond.
So I can tell you, Abhijit, one of the things like in Arka, no doubt Nachiket is one of the early member, one of the founding member of the company. But before, apart from Nachiket, before the business joined in, IT team was already there. Our chief operating officer was already in place. We had identified, yes, this is where we need to start from. And then that is the backbone which will help the business to grow and to make a sustainable business in the longer run.
Right. And also you mentioned on the point that, collecting the data from your borrowers through a digital journey with their consent. I think this is the account aggregation framework that you're talking of, right? That basically has been launched under RBI supervision, wherein you can fetch the credit details, the banking details of your client with the client's, consent. And I think that's one of the most innovative solutions that an NBFC can work for, right? Because it streamlines your operation. So I really love companies that use technology so efficiently, but because first, it enables you to do things with so much precision. Secondly, you can scale so much fast. And thirdly, you're being able to disrupt an industry, which is to be like over 100 years old lending industry, right, over here in the NBFC space. So great insights, Amit, on that front. And I think everybody would appreciate the way in which you're being able to leverage technology so powerfully to drive a business. And I'm sure somewhere or the other this will start reflecting on your NPAs also, because you're getting accurate data from the source and not a secondary data, right? So that's a fantastic way of using tech. Now, let's try and understand a little bit about, some success stories wherein Arka Fincap has funded those businesses and they have been able to scale, right? Would you like to share one or two of those such examples with us?
Yeah. I'll take that one. I think, we had worked with, will be difficult for me to take names, but one of the biggest industrial houses in the country. And they were in the midst of a large acquisition. And I remember it was the morning of December 26th last year, when the phone call from the CFO came to me. I was on vacation, that there was a requirement for them to actually deposit money with the seller on December 31st. And it was a short 5-day time period during the holiday season when they came about with this requirement. But I think the fact that we had a strong relationship with them, understood their business, had the relevant comfort, we were actually able to start on December 26th, get our entire system in place, get our credit approvals, preparing our credit approval memorandum, doing the entire documentation, and disbursing the loan on December 31st in 5 days' time. With that sort of a transaction, today, whenever there is any requirement, not just of money, but ideation, etc., we are the first port of call for that business. And this is not, a smallish sort of group. They are banked by every bank in the country, but somewhere the value addition of what we were able to do to them by way of delivering as per their requirement, as per their timelines, clearly then, it leads you to be in a manner of speaking, a part of their inner circle where they rely on you whenever there is this sort of complicated sort of requirement to deliver. So that's just a testament of how we approach business and what that results into. Like I said, today we are the first port of call, irrespective of the fact that he is banked by every banker in the country, because he appreciates what we have been able to do for him and what we bring to the table as a business.
Got it. Thanks, Nachiket, for sharing that. Let's move on now to understand a little bit about the financial performance of Arka Fincap. So this question is to you, Amit, as the CFO. Can you share some key financial indicators or performance indicators that you track for Arka Fincap's success? And if I may call out, some of them, like what has been the revenue, what has been the PAT, what has been the NIMs, right? So I think revenue, our viewers would understand, but while you explain those financial indicators, it can be different from this also. If you could explain what that indicator means, right, and then give your numbers, because that adds a lot of educational value to the viewers, right, and they're able to take decisions while making financial investments, right? So over to you, Amit.
Sure. So Abhijit, just to give you a brief about the financial performance of the company, like to highlight and again take you back to 2019 and 20 when we started our journey. I believe at that point of time, we were one of the few NBFC who started with making profits from first year of operations. We were one of them, definitely. We have been growing our book on a year-on-year basis. Even immediately after that, the COVID got hit and we got survived during the COVID very successfully. There was no hit on the portfolio as well. We grew during the COVID times as well. The balance sheet was growing. External money was also coming in the way of a debt. Promoter also infused to the extent they had committed during that period. And year-on-year basis, if I have to say, March 2020, which was our first closure year of operation, we registered a balance sheet, AUM of roughly around 450 crore. If we talk about March 21, the balance sheet or the AUM grew to roughly around 1100 crore, which took us to 2370 crore in March 2022. March 2023, we grew up to approximately 3900 crore, and standing today, we are at 4200 crore with our 6 months performance. Year on year, the AUM have been increasing. As the AUM is increasing, the diversification of the AUM is also increasing at a granular level. If I have to talk about the profitability of a company, the company has been profitable since day one. Year one, we registered a PAT of a negligible amount, but yes, 7 crore of PAT we registered, which grew up to 16.8 crore in year two, which took us to 31.5 crore in year three. And then last year, we registered 61.3 crore PAT. And with 6 months performance in current financial year, we are at 35.3 crore. And I must admit, another 6 months performance yet to get added to this number. Another certain important aspects in terms of a financial ratio, what we also observe internally from a management and from other stakeholders' point of view, there is a very important ratio of a debt to equity for any banking and financial services institution. What I believe that currently RBI is allowing us to maintain a 15% CRAR, wherein we are much above that particular threshold limit, wherein we are currently standing at 27.59%. which is approximately.
You could explain, I'll just interject. That terms.
CRAR basically means that whenever you are giving a loan, how much risk weightage you are adding to your capital. That's called a credit risk adjusted ratio. Capital risk adjusted ratio, not credit risk adjusted ratio. So how much is your capital able to justify your AUM, or how many times can you get into the leverage of the balance sheet? If I have to talk about the ballpark number, if RBI is allowing us to go with a 15% of a CRAR, that technically says roughly around 4.5 to 5x you can leverage upon your balance sheet depending on the asset class which you are present into. Considering our assets class, which generally represent 100% of a risk weightage, we believe that we are much ahead of the RBI target. RBI has prescribed 15%. We are still at 27.59%. So we are approximately at 2x what RBI has prescribed. Or in another way, if I have to say, we are only at 50% of the prescribed limit of RBI. So there is enough headroom to grow from here as well. In terms of GNPA and NNPA number, we have already discussed about the health of the assets portfolio, health of the portfolio of a company, wherein we are only at 0.19% of a GNPA and 0.05% as an NNPA as on 30th September 2023. Again, if I have to talk about this debt to equity, we are very moderate levered as on 30th September 2023. With a net worth of approximately 1140 crore, we have only a debt of 3150 crore as on 30th September, which amounts to approximately 2.8x lever. In our kind of industry, an NBFC can easily grow up to 5x kind of a leverage, ranging between 4.5 to 5x kind of a leverage. So what we believe, there is another, you can grow on this particular balance sheet up to 1.3 times further easily.
Around
and then
5 to 6,000 crores you can stretch further.
We can build upon easily. So all in all, if I have to say from a lender point of view, if I have to say, it's a very lucrative balance sheet, which is highly capitalized, which is very low levered, delivering a healthy profits and maintaining its assets quality.
Cool. I'll just recapitulate the numbers if I've got it correctly. So of FY22, you had March 2022, you had an AUM of around 2,000-ish odd crores, and FY23 you closed it at around 4,900 crores, and as of date you have got 4,200 crores. The PAT of the company last financial year has been around 61 crores, which is like net profit for our viewers after you have paid off all your operating expenses, your taxes, depreciation, everything accounted for. What net amount remains back with the company? That's 61 crores. And this year probably, right now you are already at 35-36 odd crores of PAT. So probably you'll easily surpass, around 70-80 crores. I'm doing a forward estimation. You don't have to, comment on that. But still our growth over there. And also for our viewers, non-performing assets or NP, right? That is literally close to zero for this company, which means very solid quality borrowers are being onboarded by the company, right, through a very technology driven journey, right? And that is what keeps the default rates of the company at literally close to zero. Now, let's move on to the next most important part, which is the NCD IPO route, through which Arka Fincap is raising the money. For our viewers, Arka Fincap has launched its NCD IPO. Here, retail investors can invest as low as 10,000 through the UPI route completely. Right now, we'll get to hear more from our guests on this particular matter. So, first question is, how much amount are you raising through this NCD issuance, fresh NCD issuance, and what is the purpose for raising this capital?
Okay. So Abhijit, let me highlight the fact that this is a maiden public issue of NCDs of Arka Fincap Ltd.
Right.
And honestly, we have been into the market, we have been raising money, which is the main mantra for any NBFC or any financial services institution to grow also. We have been raising money from banking system, we have been raising money from the capital market. Till now, we have been only raising via private placements. But as we are fully diversified in terms of asset sides, so we wanted to get equally diversified, and rather to say more diversified on our liability base as well. We have been associated with almost all the large private sector banks, all the large public sector banks, some of the large AMCs also, most of the wealth houses as well, who have been participated by way of giving debt to the company in our journey of growth. So we thought, let's go to the common public for the first time and see what the common public thinks of the Arka NCDs. And that's why we came out with a very small quantum of requirement, that is 300 crore, which includes 150 crore of a base issue size with a green shoe option of another 150 crore. What we have been thinking of this NCDs, and we are offering to our proposed investors, we are offering a tenure of a 3 different tenure, which is ranging from 2-year, 3-year, and 5-year. And what the amount we will be getting out of this money, we will utilize it entirely for the business purpose. That is what our nature of business is: the onward lending, maybe for a refinance, the scheduled repayment of whatever the existing debt, which is mainly the operational nature of the business. And then we have kept a very small amount to the extent of only 25% for general corporate purpose. But all in all, the entire amount is going to be utilized only for the growth of the company.
Got it. So, just to recapitulate the data that you shared, so Arka Fincap has raised capital via debentures route, but in the private placement, where essentially, the large corporates and family offices and HNI gets to participate. This is the maiden issue from Arka Fincap in raising capital from the retail, right? So this is a testament of retail participation from the demand side also growing, and more entities, like new age entities like Arka Fincap, actually tapping into this market, right? Which helps the overall bond market grow.
Yeah.
But coming back to the topic, Arka Fincap is raising 300 crores, out of which 150 crores is a base option, 150 additional crores is a green shoe option. It's a very simple structure that they have kept. I have normally seen very convoluted structures for NCD IPOs, but I think this is one of the simplest and cleanest to understand. 2 years, 3 years, 5-year tenure. That's it. And what would be the rates that will be available on this to the retail investors, one, and what will be the nature of the papers, like is it secured, and is it senior paper, and what will be the credit rating, if you can please share that.
Yeah. Abhijit, the 3 things, that these are secured, rated, listed and redeemable non-convertible debentures, which we are proposing to get listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange. These papers are being rated as a AA- with a positive outlook by the CRISIL Ratings Limited. Another way, these, as I mentioned, it is a secured instrument, and we are offering a collateral to the extent of 1.1x for our investors coming into this. So let's say, if I have to give an example, if we get fully subscribed to the extent of a 300 crore, we will be keeping a security cover to secure the interest and principal of the investors to the extent of a 333 crore.
Right. So it's basically coverage.
The yield. So across the 3 tenures of a 2-year, 3-year and 5-year, we have been giving a yield to the investors. In 2-year bucket, it's 9.35. In 3-year bucket, it's 9.65. And in 5-year bucket, it's 9.99%. We have kept the dual options of interest frequency, wherein there is in each and every tenure bucket, we have kept a quarterly coupon payment frequency and an annual coupon payment frequency. Of the investor, they may opt for the scheme whatever suits their requirement, and accordingly they can apply, and then their application will be accordingly processed, and the interest payment or the principal payment cycles will accordingly run.
Got it. So 2 years, 9.35%, 3 years, 9.65%, 5 years, 9.99. Let's take it 10%, right?
Yeah,
Returns, and 2 modes of cash flow that you can get by investing over here, as low as 10,000 and then multiples of 1,000 over there. One is quarterly payment and the other one is annual payment. Do you have anything like a cumulative option on maturity only? You withdraw the money, you get the money?
Honestly, not. As you suggested, we have tried to keep this structure very simple for the common public or the common investor to understand it more conveniently. We did not get into complication of a compounding impact or any quota system or anything. We said we'll keep it open for a common public once and for all, and we want them to understand in a more meaningful way and to appreciate this structure as well.
Got it. Fantastic. So I think for our viewers, it's important to understand Arka Fincap has launched NCD IPO route, a way of raising funds. This is the maiden issue through which in which retail can participate as low as 10,000, 300 crores overall, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year tranches. Maximum returns that you can get is 9.99%. Very simple structure to understand. 2 cash flows. Either you opt for a quarterly payment or you opt for an annual payment. And these are senior secured papers listed on the exchange, which means, if you want to sell at any point of time, there is a provision to go ahead and try and sell it on the exchange, right? So one mode of liquidity is also very much available over there, right? And apart from that, this has got an additional feature of safety coverage of 1.1x, which is if the company is raising 300 crores, it will have 333 crores as a capitalization meant to protect the investor's interest, the total amount that will be there. So you can see there is, an additional coverage for safety which is built in over there, over and above the fact that this is a senior secured paper. Let's come to the last 1 or 2 questions, and this is for the future outlook, and I'm sure our viewers would love to hear about this company, which is scaling up so fast, using technology so effectively, right, and have got great numbers to speak, right? So first is, what would be the future plans if I have to look down the path, right, and sort of growth projections, or if I may see the vision that Arka Fincap wants to execute?
In terms of a future plan and the vision, honestly, Abhijit, we continue to grow with a moderate pace of 25 to 30%. As year on year, you would have noticed what we have stated, just the number that the AUM have been increasing. We want, along with the AUM to grow, to inherited that granularity into the portfolio, wherein we can focus more towards the SME and MSME segments, to keep diversified the portfolio in order to mitigate risk and onboard as many customers as possible, to serve them in a meaningful manner, to meet their needs, and to be a part of their successful journey as well. So going forward also, if you see geographically, now I've said we are present in only 11 states with 26 to 30 locations. We want to expand this to another, maybe taking it to 40 by the immediate year, and maybe another by 50 or 60 in the succeeding year as well. So by growing our geographical presence with onboarding as many manpower to support our sales growth and to enhance the customer experience, we want to continue this journey with increasing in AUM, with inherited, I must say, the technology platform that we have already built in to give a better customer experience to the customers of Arka.
Fantastic. Any plans of going international as well, in the future as you keep on scaling up?
See, that can only be answered by my senior colleague, Mr. Naik.
Nothing on the plate currently, but yeah, all options of growth going forward which make sense can be evaluated.
Excellent, excellent. So, Nachiket and Amit, thank you so much, for your invaluable time sharing those insights. I think it was a very rich learning experience, not only for our viewers, but also, I got to learn a lot of things about the NBFC market and some very key ways, successful ways in which you are executing the business, which I haven't heard before in my multiple other discussions with NBFCs, honestly speaking. So, fantastic. All the very best for your successful, maiden NCD IPO issuances. And thank you very much for participating in our discussion today.
Thank you, Abhijit, for your time discussing the entire journey of Arka along with us. We also get delighted to be a part of this discussion. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Investments in debt securities are subject to risks. Read all the offer-related documents carefully.